not roll dice when it comes to nuclear weapons. The last time we rolled the dice with North Korea, it came up snake eyes. We lost. Right. North Korea developed a nuclear weapon, and my fear is that Iran will develop a nuclear weapon in 10 years or even sooner.
Harvard Law professor and Newsmax blogger Alan Dershowitz moments ago adamantly denouncing the Iranian nuclear deal as Obama gambles with America's future. Welcome back to Newsmax Prime. Joe Pags filling in for J.D. Hayworth. For more on this, we bring in former director of Central Intelligence, Ambassador James Woolsey. He is also the chairman of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Ambassador, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.
The first thing that jumps out to me, Ambassador, is that you were the Undersecretary of the Navy under Jimmy Carter when our relationship with Iran changed big time. I don't see any difference between the Iran today and the Iran of 1980. Why would we ever even sit down with them? Do you see a difference and any good reason why we would have sat down?
Well, if there's a difference, it's except for the seizing of our hostages. They have fewer hostages this time than when they seized the embassy. I think things are worse now. The Iran of 1980 was not running terrorist operations all over the Middle East, right, as Iran of today is. There's certainly been no improvement, quite the contrary.
Does the nuclear deal guarantee now money from Iran that will now fund global terror? You just brought up terrorism and how bad it is today. Didn't we just give them a free bank cash card?
I think essentially so. The sanction money is set aside, and they start getting it when the sanctions are lifted, and it's over $100 billion, I'm told. And that creates a situation where we have tipped them billions of dollars, essentially, in order to help them. That's not our objective, but it's what we're doing, in order to help them move forward with their terrorism and their attacks on other states, such as on Saudi Arabia and Yemen via the Houthis, the attacks all over Lebanon and Syria and so forth by Hezbollah, the terrible events they bring about in Gaza with their support for Hamas. It just goes on, and I think that we are in a very difficult situation with Iran, and certainly they're not doing anything to justify confidence that they will follow their word and do what they say they are going to do in a signed agreement. They have a word, tahiyya, which essentially means lying to infidels, and it's not just permitted, it's kind of recommended, and it is a indication of their duplicity, which is a policy conscious. It's not something that accidentally crops up from time to time. It's the way they negotiate and manage, try to manage events.
As Benjamin Netanyahu said 4 days ago, they were chanting death to America. In Parliament a week and a half ago, they were chanting death to America. This is not our friend. This isn't somebody who shows any remorse for how they acted in the 1970s through today. We've got a deal that we've been promised by this administration will, at the very least, stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. The experts I speak to say they're still going to get it within a decade. What did we get? Anything?
I think almost nothing. I think we've essentially, for the last 2 years especially, have been giving up, not getting. We had a reasonable position, at least I think it was defensible, a couple of years ago, that we were going to undertake efforts to keep Iran from the enrichment process, yeah, and from having a nuclear weapon, and also be sure of the solidity and toughness and soundness of the verification regime. The United States has now given up on all of that, and we are in a very weak position because of all the concessions that our negotiators have made under the instructions, I'm sure, of the President. I don't think we should blame the negotiators for
right.
this. They're acting under orders.
Iran says we'll keep on enriching. You're not going to stop us. Iran says you can't come and search where we say you can't come and search, and there's nothing we can do about it. I don't understand why we're lifting the sanctions, why we're going to let the world market be flooded by Iranian oil. $100 billion, as you said, will be released, plus the oil money that will be released. What's to stop Iran, because you said they've got a word for it, they can lie to infidels. What's to stop them from taking all of these goods, taking all of this money, reaping all of these benefits, and then saying, we were just kidding. We don't want any deal.
They would never admit it, that they were just kidding, but that's the way they would behave.
Right.
Having the agreement is not really going to constrain them effectively, because even where there are not some obvious and open loopholes, they will lie about what they're doing and what the circumstances are like. So there's no real chance that the agreement is going really to constrain them in its current condition. An agreement modeled after what we were talking about a couple of years ago might, if done right, have had some useful effect. What they have agreed on now is, as I've said, worse than worthless.
Time for one more quick one. If I can get a quick answer here, what would your advice be? And I know the advice probably would take longer than this. What would your advice be to Israel today?
Keep your powder dry.
Keep the powder dry. There you go. You think Israel might have to do something militarily?
It could come down to survival of Israel or action on the military front. I very much hope that does not have to happen. And I hope if force has to be used, we are involved in helping and working together with our allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia and Jordan and the others. But it may come down to Israel's existence or going along with doing nothing. And Israel's existence is something I think we have to want.
Ambassador, got to wrap it here. Thank you so much for your time. We're back after this.